Hi, welcome to this talk with Lee, the
Hi.
wonderful creator of TERF Club. And I'll just bring up a picture of what I'm talking about there. So Lee is the creator of these cards called TERF Club, and we're going to talk about that with her today. So Lee,
Yeah.
tell us about how you came to create those cards.
It. I read a tweet that Suzanne, who's the spokesman for Speak Up for Women, had done back in 2018, I think it was, which is the first rule of TERF Club is to always talk about TERF Club.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and I just thought that that was a really good kind of easy saying. So I sort of thought that at the moment, like, TERFs are being, vilified left, right, and center. There's so much slurring of the word TERF and stuff like that. And I thought, well, maybe we should reclaim it and we should redefine what the acronym is. And so we've redefined the acronym as Together Empowered Rational Females.
Oh, that's great.
Which I think really encapsulates, who we are as far as women who are standing up against the erasure of our language and our single-sex spaces.
Yeah,
And
because, sorry, carry on.
yeah, and so I sort of went back to, the old ways of doing sort of activism and thought that, yeah, business cards were the way to do it, and we could get them distributed all over the country, and, people just kind of find them.
So there's been a lot of interest in them?
There's been a huge amount of interest. Currently we've got 6,000 in circulation.
New Zealand?
In New Zealand, yeah, in New Zealand. We've been asked for cards from Texas, Scotland, Victoria, and there was somewhere else I can't remember where it was from, and they've wanted cards as well.
Right. So it's getting out there, like globally, well, around the world a bit.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
not
exactly.
all around the world, but yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. So reclaiming the word TERF. I mean, I know what you're talking about there, because I call myself a TERF now, because I think to myself, I'm not going to let others slur me with something like that. I'll just, and I think a lot of women are like that. They just think,
Yeah, I
no,
think so as
we'll own
well.
it. We'll own it. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, and kind of, so when people get these business cards, what do they do with them?
Well, on the back of them, there's a QR code which will take you directly to Speak Up for Women's website.
Okay.
And also the website is on there. And really it's giving, what we're trying to do with TERF Club is create a safe space at Speak Up for Women, where people can find information, they can ask questions through our contact form without any judgment, and they can find out what the latest sort of news and events are happening, that, so then they feel like they're up to play with, what's happening through our website.
So you're sort of creating a community.
Yes, yes.
That, yeah. So because I think there are a lot of people, women maybe especially, who are really disagreeing with gender identity ideology, but just don't know who they can talk to about it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So
and that that is a huge problem, because the minute that you do, as you know, you shut down pretty darn quick. And a lot of women, especially, younger women than myself, who are reliant on, working within organizations and stuff like that, that they have to go along with this. And if they,
Yeah.
if they say anything, then they're basically, persona
Yeah.
non gratis within their
Mm.
teams and organizations. So that's why I think
Yeah.
it's important that we've been able to create sort of a space,
Yeah.
for people to find out more information, because you can't ask questions.
No.
You know,
With
you can't, you want to
mm,
know stuff, and you want to question
mm,
people, like, well, why do I need to put my pronouns in my,
yeah,
in
I
my
know.
email? And
And,
if you ask that
yeah.
question, then,
Mm.
you're going to get possible backlash for it.
Yeah, I mean, we're finding that there's a huge amount of hostility now in workplaces, and bullying
Yeah,
people who don't go along with gender identity ideology. They just they just might have a different opinion and are not allowed to say it, and
yeah.
are not respected for it or anything. But like, for example, Pride Pledge, they've got this whole thing about bring your whole self to work, but clearly what they mean, only your whole self if you're
If you,
LGBTQ plus,
yeah, but
alphabet.
that, but
Yeah.
but that's not even, they're not asking you to bring your whole self, because if you're a lesbian or a gay man
Mm.
who, is same-sex attracted, you're not actually really under that umbrella anymore.
No, no, actually, you're vilified, really,
Yeah,
aren't you?
you're vilified because
Yeah,
you're same-sex attracted, and you're not
yeah,
prepared to either take, a
yeah,
trans woman into your dating pool or a trans man into your dating pool.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, so lesbians and gays, well, especially lesbians,
Mm.
we have the double whammy on this, like,
Yeah.
as far as being lesbians and women.
Mm.
But,
So TERF Club is kind of like, would be quite great for them. I mean, good for
uh,
everyone, but
well, it's great for everybody. Yeah, there's been,
yeah.
like, it's amazing the response from men as well that we've had to it.
Okay.
Is it all right if I join? And
Mm.
it's kind of, yeah, sure, the more
Yeah,
the
yeah,
merrier,
yeah, yeah.
you
Welcome
know,
aboard. Yeah,
yeah, welcome aboard, exactly.
yeah. And so when they so you said you have the QR code on the back, and that
Yep.
takes you to the Speak Up for Women New Zealand website.
Yes.
So what do people find when they get there to that
Oh,
website?
they find, like, we have a whole section on keeping single sex spaces, keeping women in our language, keeping policy and legislation honest,
Yeah.
keeping gender ideology out of schools, which has some great stuff behind that. Keeping children safe from transitioning, keeping women's
Mm.
prisons for women, keeping the meaning of the word lesbian, and keeping women's sport for women, which, like, as you know,
Mm.
yesterday was sort of
It's
an
very
interesting
topical now,
day.
right now. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
so, and also, like, women's prisons is very topical with that,
Mm.
that the Rotorua stabber who has, I believe, been placed
Ah,
in the women's prison as
yeah,
well,
yeah.
which has
Three
just
people.
happened.
Three people. He stabbed three people.
Yeah,
And then his comment when he was moved to the women's prison was, "Oh, he feels safer." And I thought,
yeah,
"Oh, that's good for
yeah, of
you."
course you do.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah, yeah. Um,
Yeah,
so
so basically they can, and without, underneath all those things, there's a whole lot of links to other organizations as well, so they can
mm,
find out, more once they go to those links, and there's organizations that are specifically targeted at that sort of topic. So
right,
so we're sort of like, a bit like Rainbow Youth, we're the umbrella of all of this,
yeah,
where you can
yeah,
find information and
yeah,
sort of get pointed in the right direction. And through the contact us, we're very sort of responsive on that as well, that if people come and ask questions, somebody will get back to them and point them in the right direction, and
right,
stuff like that. So yeah, it was kind of, the whole idea of TERF Club was to get to get sort of a bit more, a wider net, basically, that Speak Up for Women is there as an organization. And like that's come through very much through our data on how many people have gone to the website. Like the website traffic has gone up hugely.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, that's good.
Yeah, since the cards have been distributed, and lovely little messages. Like there was one the other day I can think of that a woman was cleaning a motel and she found it in the motel and she didn't know that we even existed, and thank you.
Oh,
You know,
awesome.
and
Awesome.
then there was another woman who, said she's felt so alone in all of this, that she's had nobody who she knew who she could turn to.
Yeah.
And a father whose daughter is starting to present as, she's looking like she wants to transition, and he's been in contact, and
yeah.
so it's really, really interesting, and our subscribers have gone up as well over this time. So it's a successful campaign. It's going to be an ongoing campaign.
Okay, so you've sort of got, you really see a future with it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because also when the cards are distributed in a way that some of them are, yes, they're very easily found.
Yeah.
But others aren't. And so somebody could say perhaps buy a book in 6 months' time, and then all of a sudden one of the cards is going to fall out of it.
Yes, of course.
Which is a really nice way. And they will have a long life, because our purpose is what I said, that it is a space, and a safe space, that people can ask questions. And I think the further this identity ideology kind of goes along, the more people are going to start on the street sort of saying, hang on a minute, what's going on here? How did this happen? And their children are going to come home from school, and like Johnny's now, Julie, and be very confused. And so I think the more people find them, the more people are going to have access to a different a different sort of thought process, more of a critical thinking process on it, because that's what's
to
not
ask questions.
coming out.
That's it. I mean, just somewhere to ask questions is like a big thing, because as I mentioned before, the hostility, in workplaces and stuff. I mean, not all workplaces, I suppose, but obviously in government workplaces, public services, and all that. I mean, I've heard some horrific stories from people who absolutely get bullied as soon as they don't believe. And the whole concept is you're not allowed to ask questions. So to have a place to come to, you can ask questions. That's got to be gold.
And also, and like there's absolutely no judgment. That's the other thing.
Cool.
And
tell me, what has there been any like feedback from the places that they've been found or anything like that? Do you know?
Oh, yes, there has actually.
Is that right?
Yes, there's one of the Dunedin Library, absolutely. They lost their, they lost it over it, and a couple of internal emails went out, and they're doing a sort of a sweep of all the books, and
for goodness
apologies about the hurt, and how basically that we're killing all these poor darlings who are finding the cards.
So the usual overreaction.
A total overreaction. And like there was another really good reaction came from Alice Soper on Twitter. She found one in the women's toilets at the rugby, not the women's rugby, but the men's rugby.
Right.
And she asked for a sweep of the whole stadium, just in case there was any more of these cards, and that she's going to have a sweep done the next time she goes to the rugby, and like they're business cards. That's all
Just
they
so,
are.
and
You
just for
know,
those who don't know, Alice Sofa, she's an ex Black Fern, is that correct?
don't I'm
Um,
not sure. I know that she's
she's an
something
ex
something to
sportswoman,
do.
isn't she?
Yeah.
Representative, New Zealand, I think representative. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yes,
heard
yeah.
that she was a sports writer.
I think
A
she is
journalist.
now. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so no, I must admit I don't know her background that much.
No,
I
nor do
thought,
I.
yeah,
Nor do I. But I know that she was somebody who, is a little bit in the public eye.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And, bless her cotton socks. And, that she did actually show the photo of the front of the card in her tweet.
oh, that was very kind of her.
Well, that's what I thought. And and
Fairly
there's
good
been
plug.
other people who have, done similar thing, and
Yeah,
and how disgusted they were and stuff like that. So
yeah. The
yeah.
narrative around, like, the narrative is just, it seems to be completely, it's all hyperbolic, isn't it? All the
Oh,
time.
absolutely.
Yeah, just
Absolutely. Like I just wonder about, the suicide statistics, how they keep on pushing that and pushing that.
yeah.
Now, it
Mm,
wasn't until just recently that you weren't allowed to even say in the newspapers that somebody had died by suicide.
yeah,
And I don't know whether or not you are actually, but you can allude to that now.
yeah.
But the whole narrative around gender ideology is that if you don't go, if you don't affirm the whole thing, then suicide is the immediate risk.
Mm,
And
mm.
it just worries me that they actually put that out there like that.
Self-fulfilling prophecies.
Yes,
Mm,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, they're encouraging it, really. I
Well,
feel that they're encouraging it.
that's my thoughts too. Is that and I think this is kind of proven. Sociologists have proven this, that you talk about something like this, and it becomes an ideation,
Mm,
and young people sort of fixate on it a bit,
yeah,
and I think, for example, if a celebrity commits suicide,
yeah,
they then find that there's like a bit of a um, what do you call it, copycat type of thing going on
yeah.
amongst, like, I suppose especially younger people who
Mm.
commit
Well, they're
suicide,
very
try
vulnerable,
to
young
commit suicide
people.
as well. Yeah, yeah. So I think that it's an incredibly irresponsible narrative that
Oh,
they
so do
just
I.
keep sort of perpetuating
Yeah,
about that. Yeah,
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 exactly.
yeah. So the purpose of the cards obviously is to let people know that Speak Up for Women is there,
Yes,
that we're reclaiming the word TERF, and it's a
yes,
bit like a bold statement, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
like, yeah, it's sort of like we're not backing down kind of
No,
statement. Yeah,
no,
yeah,
and I know, a lot of women who do find that word rather harsh, probably,
yes,
just like in the 80s with Dyke, when we reclaimed Dyke, that a lot of people didn't like that, but
okay,
those of us
mm,
who did, we did like it. But I have to say I've never liked queer. So I find, that is a
yeah,
term, sort of, and so yeah, so there are people who won't
mm,
like it,
yeah. And you
but
yourself, you're lesbian, aren't you?
yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
and you've got some stories to tell, I believe, maybe one day.
One day, yes.
Glass of wine or two or something. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Like, I've heard other lesbians talk about, like back in the, like, 70s, 80s, that kind of thing, and like how the scene was just really good.
Oh, it was
That kind
great.
of thing. Yeah.
It was great. Certainly in, I was London in the 80s, and we had 4 or 5 lesbian clubs a night,
Mm,
7 nights a week that
gosh,
we could
yeah.
go to.
But you couldn't find one now.
Oh no, you wouldn't be able to find one now. No.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Well, I think London you could still have one. Whether or not, like I know Tasmania, you can't have a like it, lesbian stroke women only night there, and they've just gone through court, and it's
Yes,
against the law.
that's right. Yes, that's just recent, isn't it?
Yeah, very, very recent.
Yeah, so you
No,
can't have a woman-only event
no,
anymore. No,
no.
got to include men. I was
Yeah.
and I just sort of thinking that for some reason that sort of triggered something that I've sort of just read on Twitter, so it must be true. About just going back to the sports things, is that the US rowing have decreed in their new guidelines, they've got new transgender guidelines,
Oh,
of course, and that in the mixed eights, for men, for women,
yeah.
is that there has to be 4 female-born women. They can't have 4 identified. I can't have 8 identified as women people.
No.
4 to be 4. So that's absolutely acknowledging that there's a difference. There's a difference, and yeah. Anyway, that's apropos of nothing really, but it's just sort of something. Obviously, just triggered that. So, is there a domain name or anything like that for?
Yeah, at the moment, terfclub.com takes you directly to Speak Up for Women,
Right.
NZ. So yeah, you can just put terfclub.com and that will take you directly there. But in the future, that I would see that the terfclub.com website becomes an information website for anybody, so then if you're in Wales or Scotland or Thailand or anywhere like that has women's groups who are a safe space for asking questions,
Right.
then we would have them on that website.
Right.
But
So
that's sort of down the track. But yeah, at the moment, it does take you just directly to Speak Up for Women's website.
It's quite a long-term plan there.
Oh yeah, I'm very big picture.
Right. So you own the domain name.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. Yeah. So right, and so that's really interesting. So they've started out about 6,000 around New Zealand, gone over to about 4 places overseas now.
Yes.
Have gone as well. Yeah. And you just keep getting orders for them?
Keep on getting orders. Yeah, what they can do is they can go through the contact form on the website, either go to terfclub.com or speakupforwomen.nz. So, it's the same website. Go to the contact form, ask for some cards, and then they'll be sent a form with it where there's a button where you can donate towards the postage and towards the the making of the cards, where that's not mandatory at all, but it's nice to get a little, because it costs, postage in this country is shocking. So it's costing quite a bit to actually just post them out to all the people that have ordered them. And we've had, so far we're on our 4th print run. We didn't realize that they would be as popular as they are, and a lot of people who have found, like originally it was only available to people within a certain discussion group, and then as people were finding them and seeing them, then they were asking if they could put them out as well, and orders have come in from all over the country.
Oh, that's fabulous. I'll put the Speak Up for Women website link below.
That would be great.
So
yeah,
can know where to go. Yeah,
and just go through the contact form and just say that you'd like to get some and distribute them. And it's the same way of just the distribution of them is a very similar philosophy to the the whole idea of it is to be safe when you distribute them, like that you can just slip them in menus, or you know, you don't need to put them at the forefront.
Yeah.
So there's something for somebody to find, as opposed to that they're right out there. So it's kind of, you know, it has that little bit of, you know, sort of a little activism, sort of, oh, I've, you know, put them here or I've put them there. And it kind of, you know, you do get that little thrill of you know, doing something. And we know that it's not illegal. Like, we can't go out and sticker places.
Right.
You know, that potentially is illegal to do that, whereas doing what we're doing is not illegal. But it, you know, I would suggest that, you know, like, I know there's a florist that I pass quite often, and I quite often pop them into the bunches of flowers that are sitting outside. And so I've stopped going there now. I won't put it, you know, I've done that 3 times in, you know, in about 3 bunches of flowers, because I don't want, I just sort of, you know, I think that's enough, for them.
So you're just being, basically, you're sort of saying to people, like, don't be afraid to be a secret activist.
No, that's it. And that's what we're being, as secret activists. Yeah.
That sounds great. Yeah.
You know, because that's it. If we, you know, we can't, well, I'd like to think that we can, you know, I'd love to go out and demonstrate on the street like I used to do in the 80s all the time. I'd love to be able to do that. And for, you know, women and men to feel safe to be able to do that. But we've seen from overseas what happens when, you know, women and men go out and try to talk about this topic out in the public, what actually happens.
Yeah, and I mean, it's going to be interesting when Kelly J. Keane comes to New
Oh, I
Zealand,
know.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, she's had a lot of problems, especially in America.
But she's fearless, man.
Oh, she is. She's great.
She's great. Yeah. So looking forward to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just briefly then, I mean, is there anything else that Speak Up for Women is up to that you just want to briefly touch on?
Well, we've just had Dr. Michael Biggs come, who did a really great presentation last week on puberty blockers and the transgender revolution, and that has had some very good feedback as well from people. And what we're going to do is we're going to like, we had that filmed all professionally, so we're going to edit that quite a bit and to be able to put in more content into it, and then eventually we'll have that up on our YouTube channel.
Free to view.
Free to view, free to view, yeah. And we're also, you know, we're looking at doing a petition about men in women's prisons. We want to get that sort of going. And also the other day, like your Substack, about the Rainbow Youth handing out the binders and the tucking underwear. Like, we're going to sort of put in some, you know, start writing some letters about that as well. So it's just a matter of it all just sort of, you know, like 1 week's one thing, the next week's the next, the next week's the next.
Not short of things to sort of
try to work out. And because we are all volunteers within the group, and we, you know, we're completely, you know, funded by donations, and, you know, we're not affiliated to any political group or anything like that. So we have to rely on our own sort of goodwill to do a lot of these things, but we know that they're really important. That they're done.
Oh, look, sounds good. Sounds exciting.
I
have to say that. I'm just going to pop the cards up one more time for people to see, and then we will say goodbye. So that's what you can order from the Speak Up for Women New Zealand website, and the details of that will be below.
Great.
All right, Lee, it was a fabulous talk.
Thanks, Katrina.
We'll do it again sometime.
Absolutely. Okay, you have a lovely day.
Yeah.
See you.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.